Hello. Today's OC storytime is a bit of a Trojan horse. You see, the character we're talking about today, that I am talking about today, is Claire Waters, and she's from my novel Honeywalls. And Honeywalls is going to be on Kickstarter soon, so that's going to be really exciting. Claire here is a side character for that story. I'm going to talk about some of the main characters when the actual Kickstarter happens, and that's going to be on April 15th. So if it's April 15th or past that, there will probably be a card and a link in the description to the Kickstarter. It's going to be like an illustrated novel thing, and it's going to be illustrated by Alex Dingley. I'll put a link to their art in the description. Maybe I'll put their cute art right here. Maybe I won't. Depends on who is editing this video. If it's me, I'll probably put art there. Anyways, so yeah, that's going to be a thing. There's also going to be an audiobook. It's really cool. I love it. I'm excited. So I'm going to tell you all about Claire. Try not to be too spoilery. There might be some like little bits of spoilers, and so if you don't want that, just wait for the book and just give money, I guess. I'd appreciate the watch as well. So there you go. 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. Oh my god. The last video where I was just saying 10 out of 10, it's continued. So Claire, heck, what do I say? So Claire is like the second kind of main character of Honeywalls. There's one sort of main character on like his story, and then Claire is like the secondary perspective of the story, and she grew up in like this small town called Cherrywood, and Cherrywood's kind of like, it's like perfect small town. Like, it's one of my tropes to do kind of small town stuff. It's kind of like Magpie, if Magpie wasn't like horrific and terrible. Magpie being my comic that's horrific and terrible, is kind of like the flip side of that town. And so like Claire has like grown up her entire life in Cherrywood, and she's always kind of wanted to leave and go have adventures and like live her best life, but she's always kind of felt like held back like permanently and forever. She's also totally a lesbian, but like doesn't want to like bring that up. She's got like a punk attitude at her heart. I kind of love Claire. I found like writing her was like the worst, most terrible thing, just because like my original version of the story, I kind of made her like way more meek and sweet and just kind of a pushover, but that didn't really work for her character. She ended up being like much more like scrappy, like at some point, like, so okay, anyways, yeah, she ended up being way more scrappy in my rewrites of her, and I like her a lot more now. So she's like, she used to be like best friends with the main character of the story, who now lives far away from Cherrywood in his own world. So he lives far away from Cherrywood, kind of in like suburbia or whatever, doing his thing. We'll get into him, but like, yeah, meanwhile she's kind of stayed. So she was best friends with him, and she was also best friends with a fella named Dandelion Fletcher. And everyone has terrible names in this book. I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. There's like terrible pun names everywhere. So she, Dan, and Ro, the main character, were kind of like all best friends, and they all were kind of creative types. Dan wanted to like go and be like a journalist, and she wanted to go and write stories, and Ro wanted to just like be an illustrator and do his thing. But her and Dan ended up kind of staying in Cherrywood and not really following their dreams, because kind of like one of the aspects of Cherrywood is people tend to just kind of do what their parents did. Like everything is kind of passed down. Like bakers grow up to be bakers, and the bookkeeper is always going to be the bookkeeper. The mortician in town, well, her parents were morticians, and it just kind of, you do what your parents did, you keep up the family business, that's what you do. Only Ro has really left this town, and oh my god, see what I'm talking about it being just freaking Pinewood over again. Cherrywood and Pinewood are basically the same, except one is cute and one is horrible. Yeah, but she always wanted to be a writer, but instead she's just going to be, she's going to work at the bookstore because her parents worked at the bookstore, and she's kind of bummed out about that. But she always like holds this like passionate feel that she can become a writer, even though she super doubts herself. And she spends a lot of time at Honeywalls. Honeywalls is Rose's old house where his mom still lives, and his mom is like a writer. She writes like all sorts of different stories, typically like little children's type books about like a hedgehog named Oxnard. Is a super cute, strong, independent hedgehog that don't need nobody except friendship. Okay, anyways, so like Claire spends a lot of time there, a lot of time talking with Rose, and just like she just enjoys her company, and she feels really inspired and just wants to be like Rose, even though she feels like she can't, because, you know, she's meant to just sell books and not write her own books. Don't be silly. So that's kind of like her backstory, I guess. I like the beginning of the novel, basically first chapter, not a spoiler. If you're in the future, I think there is a sample chapter in the Kickstarter where you can either listen to it or read it for yourself. But so what ends up happening is that Rose has become ill. Understandably, Claire is very upset by this because she kind of feels like once Rose is gone, like she's not going to be inspired to do all this story nonsense stuff. She's going to just have to kind of live her sad, depressing life without any of these things. Also, Rose hasn't finished like her Oxnard series, which is very frustrating. When your favorite author doesn't finish their books, how dare. So she goes to Rose, and Rose is just like, hey, I'm dying. I'm done. And Claire's like, no, just don't die. How about you just do that? And Rose is like, nah, I'm probably gonna die. You should like write stories. And Claire is like, no way, can't do that. Nope's out of there. I'm not strong enough. I can't follow my dreams. Following your dreams is hard. So yeah, so that's kind of the tension that is Claire's life. The whole story kind of revolves around the fact that Rose dies, so that means that Claire's friend Ro actually has to come back to Cherrywood, and they have many awkward conversations about, you know, him not being there. But yeah, Claire also is friends with, well, not friends, okay. In the meantime, there's also another person that kind of lives at Honeywalls who is not Rose, and that is Rose's daughter and Rose's sister, Sundu. And Sundu is a spooky girl. She's like always kind of in the shadows. No one really notices her, and if they do, they're kind of like uncomfortable with her because she's kind of intense. She got like this long Rapunzel hair, and she's just not someone that people really trust or like they're okay with her sometimes, but like she's sus. And Claire bumps into her a few times and is always kind of like, I don't know about this girl, something's off with her. So yeah, there's also Sundu, who's a thing. And Sundu starts acting pretty weird after her mother's death, which I mean, I guess makes sense. And like Claire's like, it's probably fine, but like there is definitely some weird stuff up with Sundu, and Claire begins a investigation into what is going on with Sundu. She does so after Dan. So like meanwhile, like Dan, like once Rose dies, he's kind of like tasked with making like an obituary, because he kind of still does some journalism stuff, but it's for Cherrywood, so he's just kind of writing like a daily newsletter about like the city, well, about like the town. So there's not much interest. He just kind of keeps everyone up to date. So he decides to write an obituary about Rose. He goes to Honeywalls, and he doesn't come back from Honeywalls for a while, so Claire goes to investigate, and that's where kind of Claire's story begins, is investigating what is going on What happened to Dan? Sundu, why are you weird? Why won't you let me inside and see what's going on in here? So that's Claire. She does a lot of silly things. Spoilers, she jumps out a window. When I wrote that scene, I was very like, I was like, Claire, don't do it. You're gonna fall. But she's tough. She does whatever she wants. She's kind of like, she's a spry lesbian who's living her best life eventually, hopefully. We're all rooting for Claire. I like her. I really didn't like her in her first draft because she would just like bumble into things, and I was like, what are you doing here? I need you to have agency and like do things, please. So eventually she listened to me and started doing things. I'm really looking forward to this Kickstarter stuff. I'm scared AF because I've never actually published a novel. I hope it's likable. I hope it's funded. It costs a lot to like pay artists, guys, because like I'm used to having Ursula who works like a dog for free, and by free I mean I have to clean all her dishes. So I don't feel so bad with the free art, but I can't just do Alex's dishes and like get them to do art for me. So yeah, I have to pay for all of that, and then I have to pay for printing and shipping, and it's a whole lot. So hopefully it goes well. I hope you're interested. I'm excited to talk more about Row. I'm gonna do that on the 15th of April when we launch this thing, so that'll be exciting and spoopy. Am I dead? Like this is also assuming that I live through the 24-hour live stream. I might just be dead right now. Who knows? Anyways, thank you so much for watching. I love you all. I cherish you. Oh, and this picture isn't going to be a giveaway picture. We're going to sell all of the little watercolor illustrations that Ursula is doing right now on the Kickstarter. So if you want this picture, you can have it for whatever price we decide. So thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time, hopefully, assuming I lived. Okay, goodbye.